And when they fall below that expectation, what builds? Resentment and contempt, because constantly they're being disappointed and constantly they're feeling unseen, unvalued, unloved.
When in reality, part of the reason they're being let down is poor leadership.
Exactly.
And if you are more aware and you are more capable, guess who has more responsibility?
Yeah.
And that's a leadership lesson for all of us.
Conscious couples, business partners, and singles committed to attracting their dream partner. Welcome to the Conscious Couples podcast, where we share our life, love story, and combined relationship expertise to help you create and consistently cultivate the most magnificent, intimate relationship possible.
Never again will you feel hopeless and alone in your intimate relationship challenges.
Having accumulated thousands of hours coaching conscious couples and individuals all over the world, as well as starting and growing a global business together, Alan and I are here to guide you in all things relationships.
Thank you again for tuning into the one place where it's not about you or me, it's about the we. Conscious couples and individuals from all over the world, welcome back to the one and only Conscious Couples podcast. Today we have a very special episode for you. Episode number 874. I'm kidding. 83.
83.
That's way less awesome when I anchored us high there. That's my bad.
I feel really small.
Yeah. Episode 83. There you go. Now we feel better. Episode number 83. Are you giving your partner room to grow? Also known as space to grow. First, before we jump into this episode, my love, I want to give a shout out to Next Level Podcast Solutions that is producing this show as well as 50 others. Producing, coaching. If you have a podcast that you want to grow, scale, and monetize, Next Level Podcast Solutions is the place to go. Mm-hmm. As always, my love, ladies first, what is your intention for today's episode?
I have my intention right here. So I want to, and my intention is for this episode, is to help our listeners recognize when their old belief system are boxing in their partner's growth and thus not enabling or activating their new relationship's version of themselves.
Okay, so Emilia has a story that is going to... We want our listeners thinking about if they've ever been in this situation. So we're going to articulate anonymously, of course, the situation that one of her clients is going through, growing through. And we want you to identify whether or not you've ever been in this spot on either end of this pendulum.
Yeah, definitely. So I have a client, like Alan had mentioned, and we collectively have had many clients who have had this experience. So we know that if you hear this and you're like, oh, me too, you're not alone. And that's the first thing that I want to say with this. But I have a client who, one of the things that I know that they're doing and they're trying so hard to do is to grow. And I know that because they show up consistently in their growth journey. And we all know if we're on the growth journey that it looks different for all of us, right? Whether that be podcasts, listening to podcasts, whether that be journaling, whether that be like, whatever growth looks like for you, it's going to look very different from someone else. And this partner in the relationship, they're actually separated, but he's trying to grow. He really is. And his partner is really, really struggling to see where he is growing and how he is growing. And what is underneath this and why this partner is struggling to see him grow in the areas that he is growing. One of the things that I see and I run into all the time and is happening in, unfortunately, this relationship is where there is what we call a limiting belief. And the limiting belief is something that where no matter what this partner does, every single time there's growth, the partner is kind of held back to an old version of themselves. So I'll give an example. The belief that this partner's up against is that he's a liar. And unfortunately, there is evidence in the past that there has been lying in the past. So, if you've ever been in a relationship and you've been lied to, you know how that feels and it sucks. And
then you have to question what else might be a lie and can I trust anything else this person says? And you can see how someone would lock in, oh, well, you lied about this, and this, X, Y, Z. So you're probably also lying about ABC, even though that person very much could have grown out of that and become much more honest.
Absolutely. And a lie could have looked like I was going to be there at 5:00, but then didn't, and then couldn't because of work or because of whatever situation. And because I can't get there by 5:00 to do XYZ for our relationship, because that wasn't communicated in his past partner's mind, was locked in that because he didn't show up in the way in which he communicated, he's a liar. And now I'm not going to go into the details of what's a lie and what's not a lie. But anyways, what I really want to share in this episode for our listeners is the fact that when we have beliefs and we have a belief about how our partner is or who our partner is, their identity, and we really start to see the evidence stack up in our eyes that they are this type of person who, in this case, is a liar. After so many times where we register that evidence as true, it locks in, just like if you were to drop a pair of sunglasses on your eyes, you would always see the world a little bit differently. And you would see every single action that your partner takes after that as going through that lens of being a liar.
So, for example, if you confirm that, let's say you have a belief that Toyota is the most popular car company in the world, all of a sudden you're going to notice every Toyota. And therefore, you're going to reinforce the belief that Toyota is the most successful car company in the world. But what you don't realize is that you're just not seeing all the Chryslers. And that's perfect analogy for if I believe that Emilia is growth-oriented and amazing, I'm going to look for all the evidence that supports that she's growth-oriented and amazing. Yeah. If I believed that Emilia was a liar, I'm going to constantly be looking for every little nuance of ways she broke a promise or didn't tell the truth. And when it comes to being honest, it's very challenging because just because I said I'd do the laundry and then didn't doesn't mean I was lying. I actually wanted to do it. And so lying gets really nuanced, but if someone has a belief that you're a liar or a belief that you're unfaithful or a belief that you're not a good partner, they're going to pick up on all the Toyotas in this analogy that confirm that, and it doesn't give your partner the room and the space that they need to actually become a better version of themselves.
Exactly. And our brains naturally will do this because we want to self-preserve. And say, for example, you do have a partner that is constantly letting you down in the area that you've built them to have an expectation of. So, for example, if I was always wanting Alan and thinking that Alan is the best person ever, my expectation is really, really high. And then all of a sudden I have the belief that, he's the most incredible man that can do no wrong. And if he falls short of that, my expectations are going to be crushed, and that's going to go against the belief that I had. And so that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt me a lot. And so what happens in relationships and in this scenario too is
the disappointment. You protect yourself from that disappointment that you just described.
Exactly.
So you'd rather see me as less than, and
yes,
even though that causes issues on the other end. So can you articulate the other end of the issues of, so instead of seeing me as more than and being disappointed, you protect your heart and see me as less than I really am, which doesn't give me the room to grow.
Exactly. And that's what's happening in this, unfortunately, because this belief has been built and is so locked in inherently. What is happening is every tiny nuance that might happen to register or confirm this belief system is being locked and loaded and used against this partner, unfortunately. And that's a self-preserving mechanism that naturally we will go to if we're hurt.
Because she's actually afraid that if she were to start being optimistic, she's actually going to get disappointed again.
Or
she was let down.
Yeah, exactly. And that happens all the time with partners. And that's where, when there is growth in a partnership like that, it is so hard to actually feel open to being disappointed again, because that's going to happen. We're imperfect. Humans are so imperfect. And if this person is really trying to outgrow that old version of themselves, they're going to need that space to grow. And they're going to need those moments of growth to really be celebrated. Alan and I call them ladder moments. When Alan has an area of growth that he has that maybe is something that I've been asking for or expecting or wanting him to do forever because
Can I give a tangible example?
Yes,
okay, I think it's important. Yeah. So Emilia, I joke and I call her the cat whisperer. So we have two cats and we have a dog. Yep. And I told her, I said, "You're a much better mother than I am." Than I am father.
You're a great mother.
yeah. I'm an excellent mother. Mother goose. But I said, "You're a much better mother than I am," because what I realized is that you were unconsciously holding me to your motherly standards. I've never had pets that I care for before. I've had dogs and stuff, but it was my stepdad's dog or my mom's dog or my mom's pets. And so I essentially have 3 pets now. And this is the first time I've ever really been a primary caregiver or a co-primary caregiver of pets. And so Emilia grew up with pets, grew up on a farm. You had chickens, you had horses, you had a great role model, your mother, who took great care of everything. And I didn't. And so I had this moment with her of, sweetheart, please let's acknowledge that you're a better mother than I am, a more capable mother than I am a father. To our fur babies, to our pets.
Right.
For now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to get better, and please see me in that. But what I was really trying to do there is help Emilia see me accurately so that I have the space and the room to develop over time versus her just constantly being disappointed that I'm not as good as she is. And since then, I've definitely come up and... you're a great mother. I hold treats in my pocket. I'm a great mother goose now. And our pets are thriving.
Well, here's one of the things that I want to bring back to our listeners to that. And I appreciate you bringing that tangible example, babe, because there are those latter moments that I find that relationships really do not celebrate. And what we're doing unconsciously and what I was doing in that I didn't realize. And I think that this other partner is not realizing that she might unintentionally be doing is when we're great at something or we're growing and we're thriving, or maybe not. We're doing the opposite. We unconsciously project what we're doing, what our standards are, those expectations on others.
Bonnie here. I just wanted to share my experience with group coaching and some of the things that I got out of it. So going into group coaching, I was not tracking any habits at all. And I had sort of jumped on board habit tracking here and there, knowing it was a good idea, but not sort of ever succeeding with it. And so now some of them have become habits. I'm happy to say I wake up, I have a glass of water without even thinking about it anymore. So now I think it's probably time to gear up and increase my water intake or change the water one a little bit, something like that. And so I highly encourage people to jump into group coaching. There's so much information that you will get out of it. I recommend bringing a notebook to all of the sessions and taking lots of notes, asking lots of questions, and rewatching the videos, because it is the video coaching part is just packed with information. I also really recommend that you check in with your accountability buddy and sort of lift each other up throughout the experience, because there's lots of momentum, it's really exciting, and then it gets hard. And so stick with it and carry on, and your life will be better for it. Okay, take care.
So have you ever had a time where you've learned about something in your own personal awareness journey where immediately you start to see the world very differently, and you will unconsciously catch yourself projecting, oh, how does this person not know that? That's what happens all the time when and in this case, for me, it was the pets. And how do you not know that the dogs and the cats...
What you're really doing is not giving yourself credit for how amazing you are at this.
Exactly.
Which is making it harder for me to actually let you lead.
So here's what happens when we unconsciously project that.
So I need you to stop doing that. Okay, this is great.
Well, when we unconsciously do that, we're projecting so much, and we want to be seen, we want to be heard, and we want to be valued. Yep. So in that unconscious projection, we're doing that so that we can be seen, so that we can be heard, so that we can be valued. And unfortunately, what doesn't end up happening, because that person isn't at that level of whatever expectations you're projecting onto them, they're literally not capable of seeing you, of valuing you, and of really hearing you in that moment, unless they can step outside of themselves and see the difference between that. Which you had done for me is, babe, can we just acknowledge that you're a better mother than I am capable currently of? That takes a tremendous humility. That helped me feel so much seen in how much more capable I was. And that's hard, because that has me feel seen, but also it's like, oh shoot, now I have to lead. And I find what happens when two partners are growing, there's one that's necessary. They might feel as though that they are on the journey further developed, whatever, than their partner. They unconsciously are projecting the expectation on their partner that they're as growth oriented, they're as well developed, they're as emotionally mature as them. And when they fall below that expectation, what builds? Resentment and contempt, because constantly they're being disappointed. and constantly they're feeling unseen, unvalued, unloved.
When in reality, part of the reason they're being let down is poor leadership.
Exactly.
And if you are more aware and you are more capable, guess who has more responsibility?
Yeah.
And that's a leadership lesson for all of us. But to bring this back to the surface before we go, because I got to jump soon here.
Yep.
On the one side, there's giving your partner no room to grow. There's locking them into the way you used to see them. And Toyota is the best car company in the world with the most cars sold, and all you see is Toyotas, and every car is a Toyota.
And on top of that, you're like, no, I think, Toyota's the best. Like, you honestly think that so much that you're self-diluting.
Yes. And so you're also reinforcing that belief within yourself.
Yep.
Okay. The other side of this is all the room to grow, which is you see your partner accurately, you see yourself accurately, you see the contrast, and you start to lead.
Yeah.
And you start to be vulnerable and courageous in your communication of the contrast of, hey, sweetheart, I noticed, and I do this with Emilia often, sweetheart, in all honesty, I think that in business, NLU is doing XYZ, and I really want to help you evolve in your business at Evolve Ventures, because I really think XYZ would benefit you tremendously, and I just don't think you're as aware as I am of the long-term downside of the fact that you're not doing this. And so I should probably give a tangible example of that, but group coaching is a good example. You just finalized your group coaching, and I said group coaching is amazing. You guys got to do it. It's the best thing ever. It's so powerful. That's just one example of Emilia obviously has never done group coaching before. I've done 11 groups. I can lead and say, babe, this is awesome. You and Bianca should consider this, and I'm here to help if you want. And by the way, here's the mistakes I made. Make sure you don't make those same mistakes. And that's leadership versus just subconsciously expecting you to crush it in business without my leadership and guidance whatsoever. And I think that that's what unconsciously I have done in the past. And it's funny because the way that Emilia is as a mother with our pets is the way that I can be with finance and business and science and technology and mathematics. And at the end of the day, there's clues here about what your strengths are and what your partner's strengths are, because most likely if you have a strength, you're projecting that onto your
1000%.
partner. And if that strength is their weakness and or their insecurity, you're going to be constantly butting heads and not getting along. Whereas the we could flourish if you could be better leaders.
I think that, and also recognize that you might have a limiting belief and you might be holding your partner to an old version of themselves.
So before we go, love, what would you recommend for someone who realizes they have a limiting belief about their partner? How would they get rid of that?
Honestly, it's a process. And I would say, number one, they're not going to immediately recognize that. So I would say, look at their behavioral patterns. If you find yourself catching yourself and saying, I think I have a limiting belief around this, the next step would be to write down where that comes up for you. So track your behavior. Where does that come up? Why does it come up? And then start to go into what is the root cause underneath that. So what is...
No, wait. I got to rephrase the question. How do I change a limiting belief with zero effort whatsoever? I'm kidding.
You don't.
You don't.
Okay,
I'm just joking. I broke your brain.
Yeah.
I'm literally kidding.
You need a lot of effort.
$49.99 a month for 3 months?
No.
Change the
Oh,
limiting
no,
belief?
just a pill. Right.
Yeah,
you just drop a pill,
this is the belief pill.
No,
you take.
Limiting beliefs are like, we all have them. And that's the thing. We talk about this so much at Evolve. And it's so powerful when you start to recognize that maybe you might be boxing in your partner in a specific version of themselves, the 1.0 version that you met in high school, and or the 2.0 that you had when you first had kids, or whatever. Like, we do that, and we don't give our partners room to grow.
It's like,
and I really believe
like
it's because we're insecure about our abilities to actually help them grow. And if we were to have them grow, would they leave us? Would they still be with us? I think that there's a huge insecurity there that contributes to limiting beliefs there too. So
that's like treating your brand new iPhone like a flip phone way back in the day. It's your brand new iPhone is better. It's amazing. You can use these new tools. You can connect on the internet. You ever seen like a baby boomer or a 60 or 70-year-old use a new iPhone and they don't know how to use any of the features? it's kind of like your relationship could flourish and could grow and your partner, but you're treating them like the old version.
Yeah.
You're treating them like the 1.0 version or the 2.0 version. Okay.
Yeah. So just admitting that there's a fear underneath you wanting to change and you wanting to actually see your partner change. I think that's where that's where everything starts. And from there, if you want more help, definitely reach out to us.
Yes. If you have a limiting belief, we will help you in Relationship Talks Coaching. This is what we do. Okay, so Relationship Talks Coaching, what's the best way to describe this? It's like couples counseling, but more goal-oriented. We have couples that are literally mapping out how to build the career and the dreams of their life. And they're working towards $1 million mansions. They're working towards their goals as a team. It is unbelievable what you can accomplish when you're together and when you're on the same page about health, about finances, about lifestyle, about what you do and don't want in a home. Our goal in Relationship Talks Coaching is to take people who are growing apart and to help them finally start growing together and flourishing together. So if you are interested in that, please click the link in our show notes and book on our calendar. We do a free half hour for the first one, and we would love to meet you.
Yeah. Speaking of finances, you mentioned finances in there. If you and your partner are struggling in this arena, which, by the way, it's on the top 3 or top 5 things which brings couples completely apart or drives them apart. And so Alan and I have taken all the data that we've gathered over the last 3+ years and then our combined 30 years? Well, you're older than I. So anyways, we've brought all of that data and we're bringing it into an event where you can get around couples just like you, conscious couples, conscious singles, who maybe they want more, information about how do we not fight about money. So our next Relationship Talks event, it's going to be free, live, virtual. It's every 3rd Thursday of every single month. And this one is going to be on September 21st, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, going to be how to get on the same page about money so that y'all aren't driven apart because of this thing that we call money.
Y'all.
So join us.
Just like you used to say on the farm.
On the farm. Well, you can't take the farm out of the gal. All right.
You can take the girl out of the farm, but you can't take the farm out of the gal.
Truth. Yeehaw.
I love it.
Yep. All right. So holler at your girl. The link to register will be in the show notes, and we really hope to see you there.
As always, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you so very much. Good luck to you and your partners. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode. And as always, it's not about you or me. It's about the we. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Conscious Couples podcast. We love connecting with the Conscious Couples community, so please make sure you follow us on Instagram. I am at Evolve with Emilia, and Alan is a Lazaros 88.
Also, if you or your partner resonated with this episode, leave us a review at the link in the show notes, and please share this with someone you love and care about.
Until next time, remember, it's not about you or me. It's about
the we.